everyone, my name is Lwanele. I'm a clinical psychologist and I wanted to do a video today about reparenting ourselves as adults. So the reason why I wanted to do this video is because it's such an important thing for us, because we've got all of these behaviors and patterns and habits that we really don't understand where they come from. And sometimes you also have a narrative that says, had my parents done this for me and had my parents done this for me, I would have turned out differently, or things would have turned out differently had my father been in my life. And I think, unfortunately, that's not going to happen now, because you're already an adult. They may not necessarily understand where you come from. They may not even want to do that for you. And I think it's an important thing to kind of like take control and take that power back and do it for yourself. So it's not going to be a very long video, but what I wanted to do is just really highlight 4 elements that you can start thinking of in terms of your life, and where you can kind of like reparent yourself and start asking questions and exploring some of your current reactions and behaviors to things. So I'm going to say all 4 things, and then I'm going to go back and describe all of them. So the first thing is discipline, the second thing is self-care, it's emotional regulation, and then the last thing is codependency. So what do I mean by discipline? So basically, discipline is a thing that your parent does to you when you've done something wrong or you've done something right, whether they appraise you for it or they really punish you. And I think part of that you have to do in starting to reparent yourself is understanding the boundaries that you have around you. Are you a person who's very strict in boundaries with the people around you based on what happened in your childhood or how you were raised, to the extent that you sometimes don't even know why you're actually so strict to people? You can't trust people well enough. You don't want to go visit other people's houses. It always has to be in particular your house. I think it's some of those things where you have to understand, is this particular boundary that I have in my life protecting me and self-preserving, which is a good thing, or is it actually excessive and based on something that I have been carrying through my childhood? And I think it also goes on the other way around. Are you not having any boundaries and allowing people to do whatever they want in your particular space? And not just by physical space, but also emotional space. Are you letting people in so much, or taking so many people's baggages because of what you had to do, or taking care of your siblings and all of that? So understand that particular thing. I think the second one, which I said, is self-care. Self-care is so important, because sometimes we mistaken self-care for buying ourselves gifts and presents and, drawing a bath every now and then, which it is, and it can be part of it. But I think most of self-care is preserving yourself in a way where you're saying, I'm not going to allow someone else's voice in my head to have a better say than my own voice. So if you're an adult, you probably have gone into starting to understand who you are, you're understanding your identity, you're trusting your voice a little bit more, or should be trusting your voice a little bit more, and not necessarily looking to other people to validate that part of you. And part of self-care is having to say, I have to allow myself to get rid of the things that don't work for me. And sometimes it has to be friends, it has to be the people around you, it has to be colleagues that are not necessarily doing you any good. And the voice inside of your head, which may be your mom's voice, your dad's voice, your uncle's voice, whoever raised you, maybe we never let go of people, we're always there for people, you always do whatever you can, even if you have to take from your own resources. And I think some of that really drains you as a person, and it exhausts you. So you have to self-care and self-preserve. The third thing is emotional regulation. I think this is very important, because emotional regulation is about how do you regulate your emotions well, but how do you really regulate your emotions in certain situations? So how you're reacting to people, how you're reacting to situations, how you're reacting to yourself. Because if you don't know how to react to particular situations, you're probably also kind of like breaking bridges around you. But I think the most part of emotional regulation is having to understand your own emotions. So when someone hurts you, don't bottle that in, because at home you couldn't talk about things, or your mom would be like, no, here's a tinky, so whatever, move on with your life. And therefore part of people's apologizing to having hurt you is you're much more inclined to be a gift receiver, which is, there's nothing wrong with receiving gifts, but I think when it takes part in the, or it replaces the conversation of I'm sorry I did A, B, C, and D to you, then that's something that's not right. So emotional regulation for yourself really is also about, how do I allow people in my particular space? How do I react to particular situations? Am I an overreactor or am I an underreactor? Do I allow people to do things to me that I shouldn't be, just because, you know what, maybe they didn't really mean it, or, you know, my mom always used to say people don't mean the things that they say, or, you know, you have to be the bigger person, you have to take care of people. There's always a balance to these things. Yes, you can be a bigger person, yes, you can take care of people, but if you're not also allowing yourself to feel the emotions that you're feeling, then that means you are shortchanging yourself. I think a really good example of this is, maybe someone does something to you in the morning, the rest of the day becomes such a bad day, and had you allowed yourself to just really process what you're feeling, then it wouldn't ruin the entire day, because you'd allow that this particular moment, I'm upset with past person A because they did A, B, C, and D, and I'm going to talk to them, and after I've talked to them, then I'm going to feel free, and I'm going to feel like I don't have to keep replaying the scenes of the event in my head and being upset at them all over. And I think the second part of emotional regulation is emotional vocabulary. And this really comes from our parents or our guardians or whoever has raised us. You know, when you're a child and you don't know what's going on, someone hits you, you don't know, you're angry, but you don't really know how to put words into that emotion. That's the important part of emotional vocabulary, because what it does for you is it helps you understand what it is that you're actually feeling at that particular time. Are you feeling angry? Are you feeling sad? Are you feeling anxious? Are you feeling any of these things? And when you know and you can label your emotions properly, is it in your chest? Is it in your tummy? You know, is it on your legs? And we feel our emotions in different parts of our bodies. But when you understand your emotions and when you feel them, then you are better able to deal with them and to react to them in situations with people, but also with yourself. And I think this makes it, and even in the workplace, because sometimes the people that, you know, react so badly in the workplace, whether, you know, it's shouting at people, it's all because of these emotional vocabulary things and regulation and emotional regulation that they don't really know how to do. So I think that's a very important thing to start allowing yourself to do. And I think the best place to do that is in therapy, because that's exactly what your therapist does. You give them all sorts of information, and what they do is that they kind of like filter through that emotion and really try to understand what is it that you actually feeling and what is it that it's actually happening in your life, and then you focus on those nuggets more than everything else that's just amplifying the situation. And then the fourth thing I wanted to talk about is codependency. So codependency, you know, relates to a lot of things, but I think in this particular reparenting yourself as an adult segment, I think it's more about letting other people be the definers of your identity more than yourself. So don't be so dependent on other people telling you who you are more than you are telling yourself who you are. You know, not other people having voices in your head and describing what you should be doing with your life, what is expected of you. And I think that's the heaviest thing anyone carries in their lives, and that brings people to therapy. It's all the expectations and the overwhelming feelings that other people have put on them that they actually don't think that's things that they should be doing. Whether it's, you know, having, you know, black ticks, or taking care of people in your family, or, you know, having to make sure that everyone is safe, whatever it is that, you know, has created an extra burden on you. So the important thing about understanding yourself and being a person is that you have to be an independent person. You have to see yourself as an independent person. You can help other people, but also you need to know that you are you as a person. And I'm saying this because we have extroverted people who, you know, generally enjoy energies of other people and other people's company, but you also have codependent people who don't know who they are outside of other people. So if your friends are not around, then it kind of feels like you're so lost. You know, when, you know, your family is not around, where people are not around, when people are not validating you, you don't actually know who you are outside of the roles that you do at work. outside of the roles you do for your friends and for your family, you have no idea who you are. If a person comes to you and says, who are you? You wouldn't be able to answer that particular question. And it's because of the codependencies that you've built around you and the roles that you play that have actually come to identify who you are. So I hope these 4 things have helped in allowing yourself to start the conversation with yourself and thinking about, do I need to reparent myself as an adult? Are there things that I need to start thinking about that I haven't really been thinking about? Are there things that I've been avoiding in my life that I haven't been avoiding, that I haven't been dealing with because of, I don't want to go back into my childhood, I don't want to think about it. And not everyone has something, or kind of worms brewing from their childhood. It's not to say that, but most of us do. Most of us carry a lot of our relationships, our current relationships, that are based on previous relationships. And I think the important thing will probably be in another video, which is a sense of how we related to our parents, our families, our siblings, really much carries us into how we're relating into the world with other people, with our friends, with our boyfriends, our husbands, our partners, whatever the case is. You carry your childhood relationships with you in adulthood. So I hope this video was helpful. Let me know, give me some comments below to check whether, is there anything else you want me to talk about? Was this helpful? Did it feel like you didn't understand certain concept? Were there things that I left out? I definitely know that there's a lot that I left out because I wanted it to be a short video. But engage with me and let's take the conversation further.